Can you hear that, Katie?
No.
You can't?
Is it pigeons?
We've been talking to one another for 5 years. I thought you would have noticed.
5.5.
5.5. Jesus Christ. My life is just salting away.
Wait, I think I figured it out.
Okay.
You are finally over the cold that you have had for five and a half years. Yeah.
Nope. Unfortunately, all the world's leading doctors are still... I get poked and prodded every day for 6 hours.
I've become really good at recognizing the visual image of you sneezing or coughing, the waveform image. I could pick it out of a lineup of waveforms anywhere.
I was finally formally diagnosed with Jew. Yeah. That was like
really tough one.
Jesus, that was like a Seth Rogen joke. I think that's literally a sex Rogen joke.
There's no such thing as a sex Rogen.
Sex Rogen. No, I am not recording my usual place because, and this is one of those really fun New York stories, like Sex and the City meets Seinfeld meets Will and Grace. The office where I usually record appears to be slowly filling with some sort of gas.
Oh, nice. Wait, by this, do you mean your bedroom? Did you have an office?
Nice.
When did you get an office?
I've always had that. You've seen my fucking apartment.
Oh, your home office. You made it sound like a place that you...
Yeah, my home office.
Left. Wait, so this doesn't make any sense. Just the office is filling up with gas, nowhere else?
Yeah. It's so funny. Huh. So like if the door is closed for a while and I go in there, I'll smell this like sort of gassy, sort of organic, sort of musty smell. I don't know where it's coming from. My super doesn't know where it's coming from. So and this has been going on for weeks. So the last few episodes, if I was a little bit, not to my normal standards, that's because I was inhaling some sort of unknown gas.
Have you checked the closets?
I checked everywhere.
Have you checked yourself?
It turns out I am
You're the source of the gas.
Slowly producing gas. I looked everywhere. The plumber was here and he said there's no source of gas. So it's just, this is what happens in New York. Relatedly, after I don't think I've mentioned this yet on the pod, I'm going to be in California for 3 months, in part to get away from issues like this. If anyone, I don't think anyone who listens to this has ever been to California, but I'm going to be in the Bay Area, February, March, April. So if people have recommendations, send them my way.
They don't have any gas leaks in California, so you should be fine with that.
I was going to say, I'm moving to a place with no major disasters or issues. What should I do out there, Katie? Should I find myself?
If I were going to spend a couple of months in California, what I would do is save my money. That's what I would do.
So not go there.
Not go there. That's what I would do. California. I was having a conversation about California the other day with someone who is back in Western North Carolina after being in California for 30 years, and we were talking about Gavin Newsom. And he's not a Newsom fan, but he was saying that he thinks he's pretty good. He was his governor, and the guy's not that political. But I was saying, the problem with Gavin Newsom, there are many problems, but one of them, I just think that I don't think anyone from California can win a presidential race in this country, because California is the place where when people move to your city from California,
it's over. Yeah,
that might not even be true, but that is the perception of everywhere I've ever lived. In North Carolina, in Portland, and Washington, it's just when California gets there, it's dead.
It's like what J.D. Vance says people from Somalia do, except it actually happens.
What they do is that they come here and they buy your houses for cash prices, and then start little coffee shops or olive oil stores. It's terrible, terrible people.
I'm a little bit curious about I've obviously spent a fair amount of time out there. Northern California, the culture out there is very different from me. It's not... it's just very open and wide-eyed, and I think maybe that'll drive...
It depends on where you are.
Well, yeah, I'm going to be in the Bay Area, which is that.
It'll be great.
Well, it'll be interesting. I'm open to recommendations, and I hope the place I'm staying there does not have a gas leak. In the meantime,
or an earthquake, or a tsunami.
No, don't see. That's the thing. That's the one thing. I'm such just a fearful guy in general. I'm scared of everything, and in New York, it's weird to say. There's not that much to be afraid of. It's just actually a very safe place. But in California, I really could get carried away by a tsunami any moment, is my understanding. Is that true?
I think it's true, yeah. I have some of these same tendencies. I woke up in the middle of the night last night and got Chat GPT to write me I gave Chad a picture of my house, and I asked him...
Is it pretty?
I did not ask him if it's pretty. I did ask if he would live there. He said yes, he would move in with me. But I asked him to point out all of the areas of my house that could be potential fire hazards, or not fire hazards, but problematic in the case of a wildfire. Apparently, having a wood house is you don't want that. Chad says that's bad.
So you use this unbelievable AI with like trillions of parameters to ask whether wood catches fire?
Yeah, that's what I did.
Okay.
That's,
that's good.
What are we talking about today?
I just want to say one other thing, which is I lived through the New York earthquake of 2024, which is actual very mild tremor and not fun. Katie, today we're going to
get a salt shaker spill.
Not even. Like nothing even rattled off the table, but I was sitting in a coffee shop with other people. We all looked at each other and we were like,
did a truck just drive by?
I'm walking here. Or I'm sitting here. All right, Katie, before we get to the meat of the sandwich, you had, my understanding is 12 to 15 corrections to do.
It's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. So
5 corrections? So, that could have been the whole episode. Why did I prepare anything?
So normally I would do this on these are all about our last Primo episode, which was about Team Fortress 2, a classic video game of which you are apparently a player. Normally I would do this in our Primo episode, but I want to take responsibility for the whole class, for everyone, for my/our errors. So just, there's a lot of distrust in the media right now, so I don't want to hide this behind a paywall. So just let me give you these corrections. TF2 was at one point available on console, something called the Orange Box.
We cut
you didn't
that
say the
out.
Orange Box.
I mentioned the Orange Box. I swear to God.
You did not say the Orange Box.
In the raw audio, if you listen to it, I was like, because I Googled it and I remembered the Orange Box. I think I might have had the Orange Box.
Okay, well, what we came around to was you saying, okay, yes, you're right. It's a just PC, not a console. That's where we landed.
But I was Googling and I owned the Orange Box, Katie.
Well, you should have trusted yourself and not Google.
I should have been like...
You should have asserted yourself.
I should have been there for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you yelled me down. Okay, what's a nice one?
No one calls it VTube. Okay, why?
No one calls it what?
VTube. You refer to VTubers, but not to VTube. Apparently, at one point, I said something like, now we turn to VTube. There's no such thing as VTube. There are only VTubers. There is no VTube.
Yeah, VTubers are on YouTube.
Right, but I think it should be called VTube, don't you think?
You think YouTube should be called VTube?
No, I think the VTubers on YouTube should be called VTube.
Oh, like that section of YouTube.
That section, like we call it book talk. We call it Minotaur talk or whatever. VTube.
This is too dumb to be a correction. Move on.
Okay. The girl who turned into a blueberry was Violet Beauregard, not Veruca Salt. Veruca Salt.
Salt was that little uppity, bitch. Like the one who just wanted everything her way.
She was the I want it now, Daddy.
She was the Katie Herzog of that tour.
I would never say Daddy. Also, Pam says in the comments, no, Katie, TF2 is not a shoot 'em up. Shmups, didn't know that term, are TD shooters that are essentially played like Space Invaders. TF2 is a first-person shooter. They're completely...
I said it was a team-based class-based shooter, and I literally explained its importance to that. Well, maybe we didn't get into it.
Well, it
gave rise to really successful properties like Overwatch.
Okay, well, the problem was that I said shoot 'em up. I was under the impression, I think a fair one, that games where you shoot 'em up are called shoot 'em ups. No. But no. Stand corrected.
Do you want me to explain the difference to you? Do you understand it?
No. Number 5.
A shmup, you're not playing other human players for one thing, and it is usually
I don't care.
2D, just
Number 5.
Screen filled with enemies. They call it bullet hell. Japan has a big role.
Colin B says
in producing those sorts of games.
Jesse called Sergeant Donnie Donowitz, aka the Bear Jew from Inglourious Bastards, the Jew Hunter, which was actually ruthless Nazi Hans Landa's moniker.
Of course. Yes. The Bear Jew was the guy who would pretend to be Ted Williams and beat Nazis to death.
Yeah, okay. No, the details don't matter.
Obviously, the Jewish character who kills Nazis is not the Jew Hunter. That strikes me as an editing error because you should have noticed that. How
am I supposed to know that the Jew Hunter and the Bear Jew...
Hold on. I'm doing a screenshot where I attribute blame for each of these corrections, and it's 5-0 me.
No, I think...
Haven't you seen Inglourious Bastards?
Maybe once, maybe probably not.
Oh, it's so fucking good.
Okay, so anyway, those are our corrections. If that didn't make any sense to you, that means that you're a free listener, and honestly, fuck you. Is that too harsh?
No, yeah, I'd say so.
Okay, honestly, screw you.
Okay.
Was that better?
Yeah. Okay. So let's get to the episode. We have had a good run of episodes on sort of niche internet bullshit, interesting stuff from these random communities, Minotaur milking, Team Fortress 2. What else, Katie? What of our recent? What was the? There's another like really niche one recently.
I have to check the list. My God, it's like once we do it, it's just like in and out of brain.
I've actually I learned how to severance myself. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. So we had Clavicular. He was the Lux Maxer who hits himself in the face with a hammer, which I've been doing, and honestly, it's just bruising.
Yeah, you're swollen.
We had Bronies.
Yes.
We had that's pretty much chess. We did chess.
So today, there is at the moment a lot of internet bullshit colliding with sort of like actual real world news and stuff. Katie, just click this link as one little appetizer. This is not a story in and of itself, but this made me realize where we are.
This is a tweet from Prediction Market Trader. Today's White House briefing had a 98% chance of running over 65 minutes until Caroline Leavitt abruptly ended it with seconds to spare. Traders on the no side made 50x in seconds. I know, I'm going to get into this. I was talking about this last night with my parents about how I'm going to start doing all of my retirement on the poly markets.
Yeah, so to anyone for whom this isn't clear, there are prediction markets where you can bet on anything now. And apparently one of the things you can bet is whether a given White House press conference will be over 65 minutes. And in this video, Caroline Leavitt, there's a timer, and she does seem to sort of wrap it up quickly at 104:30. Now, there obviously could be other reasons. If you work for the White House, you have to be elsewhere. But
she had a fart that was just like she just like had to get out of the door to let it out.
Right. Or they're debating which random boat to bomb next, and she wanted to be able to chime in. But when I watched this, I was like, and the point of the tweet is like people could have made really, really big money on this random little bet. And when I watched this, I was like, 5 years ago, I would have responded to a tweet like this by being like, this person is a conspiratorial lunatic. Who thinks the White House press secretary could be in on some inside trader prediction markets? Mm-hmm. Who knows? Like, would this shock you in the least if we found out this actually happened?
I mean, it wouldn't shock me that there was some insider trading going on. Absolutely not. And in fact, I want in on this. If anybody listening
Carolyn?
to this, anything, I will.
She's
bet.
Probably a listener, Caroline Leavitt.
Yeah, she probably is. But you can on these poly markets, you can bet on literally anything. So if anybody has a connection with Clavicular and you know like what his next surgery is going to be, just get at me. I'm very interested in getting into insider trading.
Every time I open up Robinhood
and check out your you have what, 1 penny in Robinhood, is that right? Or no, that was your crypto. I have your crypto holdings.
One of the few things I'm decent at is knowing to just put stuff in index funds. And every time I open up Robinhood, it's like, would you like to look at your index fund and not touch it like a responsible adult? Or could I interest you in sports gambling? It's absolutely everywhere, and it's horrible. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that to your attention because I found that funny. But today, the two online bullshit meets real life things we're going to talk about are Cea Weaver, a woman whose life I will explain shortly, and a country called Venezuela that has been in the news lately. And I should also say there's also unfortunately a very online angle to the stuff currently going on in Minneapolis, and we're going to have a premium episode about that, I believe, next week. Okay, let's start with Cea Weaver.
I was wondering how to pronounce that name. I thought maybe it was
Che,
C, or what I wanted it to be was Ka.
You know, now that I think about it, the way I fact checked this was I Googled just like YouTube videos about her, and the one I watched was Megyn Kelly. Do we trust that Megyn Kelly pronounced it correctly?
I mean, Megyn Kelly's never wrong about anything.
Katie, I just checked a legitimate news source. Not that Megyn Kelly isn't, and it is, in fact, Cea Weaver. So, yeah, the problem is she's appointed to this office, mayor's office, to protect tenants. Turned out she's posted some pretty wacky stuff. We got this from 2019. Katie, please read in your best
private school.
I don't know, social justice activist group, private school social justice activist.
Private property, including and kind of especially all caps.
You didn't put enough. Yeah, okay, all caps. Yeah,
especially home ownership is a weapon of white supremacy masquerading as quote wealth building public policy. Okay, how many homes does she own? Just curious.
Well, we're going to get to that.
Okay.
It's less her and her parents.
Someone should tell the leaders of BLM who spent all of the donations on like 6 mansions, they should tell them that wealth building and home ownership is actually white supremacy.
In 2017, she And just to situate this, she graduated college in 2010. So these aren't tweets from when she was like 15. So there was a tweet in 2017 from East Harlem Preservation. East Harlem Corner named for Vito Marcantonio, 7-term U.S. congressman, to which she, quote, retweeted.
And communist, elect more communist. Was he a communist?
But she's saying elect more communists. That's the main thing. So the Washington Post summed up more of this as follows in an editorial. On a recently deactivated Twitter account, New York's new tenant Sarina posted in 2021 that rent control is, quote, a perfect...
Should be Surex.
Rent control is, quote, a perfect solution to everything, end quote, and bragged that it's, quote, a more effective way to shrink the value of real estate, end quote, than zoning restrictions. In 2018, she wrote, impoverish the white middle class. Home ownership is racist, failed public policy. That same year, she said there's no such thing as a good gentrifier, and described gentrification as part of a centuries-long process of white supremacy. They also mentioned her calling to elect more communists. She also has valorized the idea of government seizing private property.
Oh, interesting. So, when the government has seized private property through eminent domain, you often hear about how historically that has happened in Black neighborhoods. Is she in favor of that? It kind of sounds like she is.
Right. So look, just to be fair, she would say the idea is to seize rich people's homes and redistribute them to the public to sort of socialize private housing.
So there's a conservative journalist pundit in Seattle named Brandy Cruz. She used to be on one of the local TV radio stations. Now she does her own thing. And she recently, I didn't watch the whole thing, but she had this interview with Sean Scott, who's a Washington state representative, newly elected from the Seattle area. And Sean Scott, he's a Democrat, but he's like DSA type. And Brandy asked him where he could point to a place where socialism has worked really well. And he said, Cuba. And Brandy was like, are you aware that people flee Cuba on rafts to get to the United States? And he was just sort of like, completely, that is the best example of socialism that he could come up with, is the place where they have crumbling homes and they're driving 1950s fucking cars. And he, you could have made an argument, he should have made an argument in that moment that, well, the problem is sanctions. This is the imperialist fault.
But he was too dumb to even make the basic argument.
What he talked about instead was that if the shoe had been on the other foot and Americans in Miami were fleeing towards Cuba and they got to Cuba, they would have gotten free healthcare.
There was a really sad article in the Times about what's going on in Cuba. I think I mentioned this on the podcast before when I was there with a couple of friends, and the small subset of Cubans I talked to, I wasn't sure how forthcoming they would be, but they're furious at their government and they hate it. And a lot of them also aren't happy about sanctions because the sanctions are really stupid. But this idea that, well, we're actually going to get into this when we talk about Venezuela. This idea that Gisano discourse. I'll teach you.
All right, thank you.
We're going to do a little Spanish language later on. So 4 years ago, New York's public advocate tried to appoint Cea Weaver to the City Planning Commission. This is something that requires confirmation. When folks found out who she was, it didn't go well. Of course, Fox News naturally is on the case. Katie, read this little excerpt, please.
Assemblyman Coleman Yeager told Fox News Digital, quote, "We learned a little more about this person, and I guess from my perspective, it was one of the more out there comments, not just the political philosophy per se, but the things she actually said verbatim. Yeager told Fox News Digital as he recalled the discontent that led to Weaver's nomination being withdrawn. Quote, things like home ownership is white supremacy. I think that's just ridiculous, and to be quite frank, I think it would surprise a lot of my Black, Latino, and Caribbean American constituents who have struggled their entire lives to buy a piece of New York and are raising middle-class families in my community to find out that they're participating in white supremacy by doing so." Makes sense.
Yeah, I think Yeager is sort of a moderate to conservative Democrat type, but he's technically Democrat. So I'm guessing this sort of person, the Cea Weaver type, who says things like home ownership is white supremacy, you're familiar with this type from your Seattle days. I mean, you were just talking about someone in this mold.
Yes.
So in a certain way, the rhetoric, especially 2017, 2018, 2019, it's sort of standard issue performative lefty online rhetoric. Part of the reason conservatives are really going after her is because she has painted a target on her back. So, Katie, guess without checking Cea Weaver's own relationship to things like gentrification and home ownership.
Okay.
Not only home ownership, but the worst kind, Hawaii home ownership.
Quite. I'm guessing that she is herself a gentrifier who either owns a home or comes from wealth. I'm guessing her parents probably live in a very nice place somewhere in the suburbs of, I don't know, Newton?
Not quite Newton, but yeah, she sort of ticks every conceivable box in terms of someone who's going to like really, rile up conservatives, and understandably so. She lives in Crown Heights, which is this neighborhood that has been, it's a very large neighborhood, but parts of it have been like major epicenters of fights over gentrification in Brooklyn.
Do we know where she's from originally?
So yeah, she went to Bryn Mawr for undergrad and NYU for grad school. And she's from Rochester, which is not a super fancy place, but has like nice suburbs. And it was quickly...
Rochester's a place where you can, like, a good place to go buy a home if you can handle the weather. Yeah.
Well, and conservative outlets, presumably within 10 seconds of the tweets about white home ownership, found out that at least one of her parents owns like a $1.6 million home, which, like, we should be clear, in 2026, that's not like a super mega mansion in most places, but...
Well, it depends on where you live. That would be a super mega mansion in probably Arkansas.
Yes.
In a place like Seattle, that could be a fucking townhouse. Maybe not a townhouse, but yeah.
That's the thing, right? And most Americans cannot afford a $1.6 million home, is the point.
Wait, 1.6? Yeah.
So yeah, she's just...
If it was 1, okay, 1.6.
Well, I think what I was saying, I'm trying to, like, people are going to get mad at me for this. I'm trying to walk a line where, like, I do think people, as soon as they put million in the price of a house, people do sometimes act as though that means it's like some giant mansion. Right. But like in 2026, there's like, I'm saying most Americans could not afford a house of that, a $1.6 million house. It doesn't mean she comes from like massive generational wealth.
No, my sister lives in a town in Colorado that is incredibly expensive. She lives in a very, very like standard ranch style home. It's $1 million home.
Yeah.
It's like, we're talking like a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It's $1 million home.
Yeah.
It just really depends on where you live.
So part of why I'm like a little bit conflicted about this story is, and part of what's silly about all these performative tweets is that by all accounts, like in terms of actually walking the walk, she moved to Crown Heights. She very quickly got involved in tenant organizing and tenants' rights battles. It's not like she moved to Crown Heights and then telecommuted to a tech job or something. I think she's
a good gentrifier.
I think she's a good gentrifier, but of course she painted the target on her back by tweeting incredibly dumb stuff. But this gets back to an issue that comes up a lot on BarPod, and which that assemblyman just mentioned. There's just sort of light years between the radical chic stuff that highly educated socialist and communist types say and the beliefs of the people they claim to want to represent and protect. So home ownership is very much woven into the idea of the American dream. And in New York, there are a lot of people who are not white and often who are not rich because like they bought their homes at a time when things weren't as crazy as they are now. And they either take pride in owning a home or they hope to own a home. These are very normal feelings.
Right. Home ownership has historically been the path to building a middle class in this country.
Yeah. So the problem is it's this divide where like I would imagine a lot of the work she does on behalf of tenants is genuinely useful. But if you're working with a group of people and you're trying to help them, but you also hold these beliefs that are just wildly out of step with what they think, I don't know. There's like a divide there worth thinking about. And I feel like a lot of these folks don't really think about that. Like, do they, in your experience, do they justify the fact that they believe things that like the poor people of color they represent don't believe at all? Do they try to? Is it like a false consciousness argument almost? I
don't know. I mean, when I was at The Stranger, I saw this fairly frequently because the people I worked with shared Cea Weaver's politics. And it obviously didn't represent, they like in no way did they represent the constituents of like South Seattle who are often immigrants, poor people, black people. It's just light years away from what people actually want. And I would see this in, for instance, endorsement meetings when candidates for office would come in and you would have my colleagues, all of whom were college educated, all of whom were raised middle class, even if they were making shit wages at The Stranger, which they were. Most of them were renters, except Charles Mendete, our resident communist columnist. He was a homeowner, also black. But you would see my white colleagues, white born middle class colleagues, talking to these people running for office to represent their actual neighborhoods. And what my colleagues wanted was like defunding the police. And what the people who actually lived in these neighborhoods wanted was not defunding the police. They wanted better policing because they saw crime in their neighborhoods, and their constituents didn't want to be fucking worried about getting robbed or getting shot on the street.
Yeah.
To me, it was embarrassing to be like on the side that was advocating for policies that were actually going to hurt the people, not the people who were in that meeting by any means, but the people who actually lived in these neighborhoods.
Well, but it's funny, the defunding the police thing is popped up on my feed because Hamilton Nolan, who's like a pretty respected lefty labor-ish writer, just posted a piece. I'll just read the Substack thing. Defunding the police was always a good idea. The political establishment's rejection of it helped to lead us to where we are now. If you are skeptical of it, take the opportunity to reconsider. And there's a horrible photo of bloodstained airbag from where that woman was killed in Minneapolis.
Here's another idea, Hamilton. Is it possible that rhetoric like defunding the police indirectly led to the election of Donald Trump? Has that occurred to him at all? That most Americans don't like fucking radicalism?
Well, I guess
and they rebel against that, and this is all part of the fucking backlash?
Well, right. And I don't know if that's true, but I guess it's unclear to me why his theory that center left people rejecting defunding the police, that got us to this woman being killed in Minnesota, when the thing that happened that got us a woman being killed in Minnesota most directly was Trump being elected. So it really depends on like, do you really think a Democratic platform of defunding the police would appeal to the people the Democrats need to win back? What's the evidence for that?
Kamala would have done way better if she had entered the race and said, you know what we need? Let's just get rid of the cops. That's what would have done it.
The TikTok video. I also think Tim Walsh should have called JD Vance weird more. That would have really.
Oh yeah, that would have done it. It was probably because she waffled on transgender surgeries for illegal aliens in prison.
I don't like. I guess. Part of me feels like what am I missing here? Because like Cea Weaver does like actually work with struggling New Yorkers every day.
Do we know that?
Yeah, she has a long history of actual tenant organizing. She's working with people who like I think are like bad New York landlords are really bad. I'm lucky I don't have one. But they're really bad. And I guess I don't understand the disconnect. I do think like the way I think it's often false consciousness arguments that poor people have been fooled into adopting the mindset that they should be homeowners. And like, I think that's basically how they argue it, but I still remain confused by that. Anyway.
I would be curious to know who, like when you're doing tenant organizing, who are the sort of tenants that seek out tenant organizers?
What do you mean?
Is it actually like poor Black people and immigrants? Or is it white educated people who have shitty landlords because they live in Park Slope?
Well, Park Slope is like at this point.
Okay, not Park Slope. All right, give me a better example.
We'll include a link to a Times article that really gets into the specifics. This has to do with like a really crumbling rent-stabilized building that is owned by this massive company that is going through bankruptcy and just, really bad shit. People not having hot water. So I think it's probably a mix. I would imagine the tenant organizers are able to find the sorts of tenants who they think should be organized. But I don't think it's the kind of thing where it's like only... I think there's a real need here. There's like really bad buildings and bad landlords in New York.
I'm sure there's a need, but I'm curious about who are their clients. I'm not asking you to have the answer, but I would be curious to know who are their clients.
Yes, we'll include there's a link in the show notes to a Times article about some of this stuff. Now, one other like sort of more circle jerky part of this I want to get into. There's also just this sort of double standard that I found a little annoying. This is more circle jerky, but read this from super close friend of the pod, David Cleon.
Great guy.
He's quote retweeting something about Cea Weaver.
I know Cea slightly and have always found her impressive and serious. I see that one of her regrettable tweets was a 2018 quote tweet of mine, probably also regrettable but long deleted. As millennials achieve political power, we're going to need a general amnesty on bad old tweets. Welcome to the fucking party, David. You're a little late.
Yeah. He anyone who's he's come up on the show before, but he represents the type of Brooklyn lefty who is like pretty merciless in their assessments of others. Obviously, he does not like me. He has been invited on the podcast. Is
he the one who did that? He did some I think it was him, did some article about like where the Harper's letter, how, like what, like trying to catalog the Harper's letters signatories on Trump's attacks on free speech, something that we've talked about on this podcast.
Oh, he did they all signed the Harper's letter where they are now at like a 5-year retrospective.
And and it was like all he did was like search tweets. I don't tweet. So have I tweeted about Trump's attacks on free speech? No, I haven't. Have I talked about it ad nauseum on the fucking podcast? Yes, I have.
Yeah, and of course he had previously tweeted that actually bad tweets are a good warning sign of people who shouldn't be in politics. But
oh, really? Mm-hmm.
What this comes down to is everyone knows this at some point, but in our crappy little media world and academia world, there's just this obvious double standard where if you're seen as like a good leftist,
right,
or a Mamdani supporter, a Bernie supporter, AOC supporter, you'll be granted huge leeway to just make little slip-ups, like saying we should impoverish the white working class. If you're not seen as a leftist, if you're seen as one of those evil, and the people they're most obsessed with are not fascists or conservatives, but center-left people, liberals, tiniest slip-up or expressing an opinion most of the country agrees with can incite a shitstorm, and people like David Cleon will do everything they can to like render such people sort of canceled and unemployable, and it's sort of, I think a lot of people who are familiar with David Cleon freaked out when they saw this tweet. I did a little bit too. It's just there's a huge level of hypocrisy there, right?
Yeah. And on the one hand, it's like, do I want people to all come around to the position that we have had for like 7 years, that that there should be maybe not amnesty, but people shouldn't be like lose jobs and be publicly shamed for old tweets? Yeah, everybody should come to that conclusion with some,
but he doesn't. I think the thing is he doesn't actually believe it. He just believes it for him and his friends should have one set of rules. Everyone else should. I will say, like, in terms of Cea Weaver's ability to do this particular job for this particular administration, I'm actually not sure her dumb commie tweets bear that much on that. I don't think she's going to be in a position to end private property. I'm not sure.
Good luck ending private property in Manhattan. Exactly. Yeah, good luck with that.
So
I mean, how I am curious, how concerned are you about a communist running the country or running the city that you live in?
I don't think he's a communist. I think Cea Weaver,
that thing that he said at the inauguration about
the warmth of collectivism.
Yeah, he said we will replace the frigidity of rugged individualism with the warmth of collectivism. That sounds fucking communist to me.
Yeah, I mean, I would generally defer to Matt Iglesias on a lot of policy stuff. He thinks Mamdani is off to a strong start. I'm honestly not concerned. I mean, we'll see what happens. There's areas where I could potentially be concerned if, generally speaking, the mayor's office like takes a more aggressive stance toward protecting tenants. Obviously, a lot of these policy issues are more complicated than they appear. For example, if you're a company that owns rent-stabilized housing, that limits the amount of money you can make, that they claim it makes it harder to do maintenance in this issue, this bankruptcy. In this New York Times story I linked to in the notes, like the company said that, but they also spent the money they did have on hand on legal and administrative stuff. And it gets really complicated. But no, overall, like if Cea Weaver is, I don't think she's going to have the power to do the really crazy stuff she believes in. And I don't view it as a problem if like the mayor's office is more on the side of tenants. I don't. Well,
you're not a homeowner, Jesse, and you're not white.
I'm a tenant.
Yeah.
Although I'm a tenant with a decent landlord who I don't think is a bad guy. Anything else on this, Katie, or should we do housekeeping?
Let's do housekeeping. Good luck to everyone.
You do housekeeping.
We are a podcast. You can reach out to us at blockandreportedpodcast@gmail.com. That's the best place to send tips, complaints, pictures of... What do you want pictures of, Jesse?
Not feet. We get more than enough of those. No more feet, guys.
Not
Just
feet.
Stop.
Not feet. Recommendations for Jesse's time in Northern California. Invitations to your dungeon. Is Ayla's there? Are you going to go to some Ayla parties?
I was trying to remember if Ayla's there or did she move to Austin?
I think she moved to Austin and then back.
Then back.
After someone tried to kidnap her in Austin. The
problem is you can't. I was going to send her an email in the way you send anyone who you're like, no, I've met her a couple times. Like, oh, I'm moving to your place. But The last thing I heard her on was PJ Vote on Naked Party. So I need to make it clear that I'm not asking for an invite to the Naked Party. I don't think I would be.
So I guess if that was the last thing, I guess you didn't read her piece about how she threw a party and asked all of her invitees if they would shit on the floor.
Wait, sorry. She asked them to,
Link in the show notes.
As one of her weird hypothetical, like, would you do this questions?
It's a little bit more complicated than that. I don't want to spoil it
It's
for
more
anybody.
complicated than that?
She asked if they would, but some people apparently prepared by like shitting in a bag and freezing it. So people were prepared to actually do this.
I'm rethinking this move. Should I not be going to the Bay Area?
She's oftentimes looking for housemates.
Okay. Well, I happen to be taken care of on the Okay, well, there's going to be some. I don't know how to wrap this up. There's going to be some interesting stuff out there either way.
Have fun, Jesse.
Do the rest of housekeeping.
Okay, where were we? We're a podcast. Okay, so that's where you can email us. The best way and really...
What is blottoreporterpodcast@gmail.com.
The best and really only way to support the show is to become a premium subscriber. Our premium subscribers are truly the only reason this podcast exists, and we need more of them. Please become a primo. You get at least 3 extra episodes a month. You get access to a bunch of other good shit. Our comments section is really good. There's like usually 1 or 2 assholes at any given time, but I think that's necessary just to keep the balance.
Don't lead with the assholes.
No, but that's like, but then there's like,
it's an amazing ratio.
Yeah, the ratio is amazing. It's a really good place for conversation. We have a chat through the Substack app, so you can just go talk to your internet buddies. It's quite a nice place.
Oh, I should actually, this is good timing because I don't want to promise yet, but I believe I'm going to try to do these meetups that have historically been very fun. Primo only meetups in 2 different West Coast cities in the weeks to come. So that's another reason you'll get notified of that if you're a premium subscriber.
Yes. You also get access to our new book club, to the personal ads, and our entire back catalog. So there's a lot there for $7 a month. So please join us. It really helps us out. And the other thing is, I got some terrible news today. So, Jesse, as you know, I'm doing an event with the illustrious Frank Bruni on January 26th at Duke. This is a public talk. It's free. It's open to anyone. And they've had such a good response that they have moved it to a bigger space. So now I need people to show up. So if you are in the area or you want to just like fly in to go see me speak for free at Duke, please do. I will post a link to the show notes. You can register on Duke's website to get tickets. You do have to register by January 20th. So please, I'm begging you now, please.
All right, Katie, let's move on to Venezuela. Just off the top of your head, what are your...
Wait, how are we going to pronounce this? Are we going to do the white way or a Venezuela?
Venezuela. I'm gonna do a Spanish accent with a lisp. Actually, that's a spoiler. Spanish accent.
That's an Argentinian accent.
Venezuela. Well, parts of Spanish too. Parts of Spain too. Off the top of your head, don't look it up. What is your favorite thing about technically current, but in every real sense, former Venezuelan president Nicolás Maduro? I know there's a lot, but what's your very favorite thing about him?
Easy. He looks like Saddam Hussein.
Saddam Hussein? Nicolás Maduro.
Yeah.
Let me get a fact check on that.
Shocking.
Yeah. He looks like...
He really does.
Well, a certain type of dictator loves that type of mustache.
Yeah, I think Trump should get a mustache.
Can Trump do decent facial hair? Not everyone can.
He doesn't seem like the type. Do you know, I'm like, this is a real question, Jesse. Do you know where Venezuela is on a map?
Yes.
Did you know before this week?
Dude. I'm sorry. Yeah, I thought that was going to be some sort of gotcha, that I was going to be like, Australia.
I did not. I did not actually know. And I knew it was in South America, but I couldn't have told you where. So I took the time in the past week to memorize the entire map of South America minus the capitals. If you want to know where Bolivia is, French Guiana, I got you.
Wow. You must have.
I got the whole thing.
Your 3rd grade teacher must be so proud of you. You memorized all of them?
I think that was like 8th grade. I can't do Canada, but I can do South America now.
I was in Colombia in grad school with some friends, and we were by the border with Venezuela. And outside of certain homes in this part of Colombia, there'll be a little plastic bottle with a little bit of gasoline in it because Venezuela produces so much gas, and it got illegally moved across the border, and then Colombians would sell it to people.
Just in little bottles?
Yeah. There'd be a little bottle outside the home being like, we have gas here if you want to buy gas.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Not like this is all the gas we have. Do you want 1 ounce of gasoline?
It's like, what is somebody going to do with a couple of teaspoons of gas? You confused me there.
Yeah. Okay,
gotcha.
So that's your favorite thing about Maduro.
And then in Venezuela, they have a little bag of cocaine outside their homes.
Exactly. So yes. part of what makes this interesting as an online phenomenon is the way these like two really different questions have gotten conflated. So one of the questions involves the act's legality, which obviously that's what we're going to focus on as a public policy podcast. People can probably guess how I feel about the Dunroe Doctrine. I am glad that's what they're calling it. Yeah. Which
my God.
I guess it's all worth. I guess this whole thing's been worth it because we have Dunroe Doctrine.
Yeah.
But the other question is like how real life humans with real life histories respond to bad things happening to people they hate and people who have hurt them. So let's start with a little contrast here. First, forgive me for linking you to End Wokeness, but watch this scene, which we're also going to embed, and describe to me what's going on. This was in Seattle, so it should warm the cockles of your heart.
Of course.
Hands off Venezuela!
Looks like a
Careful.
trans woman, I'd say. Trans woman.
I don't know how you know that. It's a... No, I don't. It's just a person wearing...
I'm a skilled transvestigator.
La lucha sigue! Libertad, socialismo o muerte! Venceremos!
My arms were drawn to the Venezuela flag armband.
Okay, Venezuela armband. This person is cosplaying as a revolutionary, I would say. Straw hat. It's a white person wearing a farmer's hat and a t-shirt. I can't read the t-shirt. What's it say?
I don't know. I want to like this to be educational for you. So repeat after me, Katie.
Yes.
La lucha
sigue.
sigue. Now put it all together. La lucha sigue.
La lucha sigue.
Do you know what that means?
La lucha means lunch club. And sigue
this is
means
offensive.
And lucha means milk, and sigue means let the dictator go.
Oh, okay, you actually nailed it. No, la lucha sigue means the struggle continues. Okay, so
do you think this is a Venezuelan?
Yeah.
No,
based on the pronunciation, absolutely, that was perfect. Okay, now watch this second one and describe it for me.
This is the text says Venezuelans learn at their workplaces about the fall of the tyrant Nicolás Maduro and burst into tears of joy.
Now it's translated from Spanish.
Yeah, and this is a bunch of women looking at their phones. Looks like they work at a restaurant, and they are indeed crying tears of
Jumping
joy.
Up and down.
But we don't actually know. I mean, they could have just found out that their favorite team won Pop Idol. We don't actually know, but it is.
I would say it
is people who are crying tears of joy.
Basically, anything we watch could be fake, and we don't know what anything.
This is true.
I mean, literally,
these people might not exist.
I'm exaggerating, but only slightly, and we're rapidly approaching a point where nothing we see or hear.
No one was killed in Minnesota.
No one was killed in Minnesota. Venezuela, there was not kidnapping / totally legal operation. There's the divide here is there's a big Venezuelan diaspora because so many millions of people have fled that country because it's been in a catastrophic state for a while. No small part due to Maduro. Obviously, there were people fleeing under Hugo Chavez as well. So this diaspora really hates Maduro. And as you will recall, it's the rather overwhelming opinion of the international community that Maduro lost the most recent election to a guy named Edmundo Gonzalez. He was sort of a stand-in for Maria Corina Machado, who's this sort of heroic opposition figure who...
She just won a Nobel, right?
Yeah.
For physics. But did she win the FIFA Peace Award?
Well, so I wasn't going to bring this up, but I was sort of blinking at my screen. Trump mentioned her and said it would be nice if she would give him her Nobel Peace Prize. And then I was like, well, that's fucking insane. And then like the next line in the story was Maria Corina Machado has signaled a potential willingness to do that, to give her Nobel.
She's a smart woman. Honestly,
but does Trump have like a fourth grader's understanding of trophies, where he thinks if someone gives you a soccer trophy, you won the soccer tournament?
It's like all of this would be so fucking funny if he weren't actually the fucking president.
The president,
right.
I know. We had it so good when he was a reality show star. That was the perfect role for him, and we couldn't let well enough be.
Right. No one has ever been less suited for this job. He was perfect the way he was.
Yeah.
He would be beloved as the "you're fired" guy.
So Maduro had basically, his government had ruled Machado ineligible. So Edmundo Gonzalez, everyone thinks he won by a huge amount, and then in the style of dictators everywhere, Maduro was like, no, no me gusta. He lost resoundingly. He held on to power. Maybe Trump was jealous that he was able to do so. So we've had our very own Spanish-speaking producer, Jessica, the 80s baby, looking into this. I do want to read, actually, would you read this sort of jarring description of what she wrote? Because I think this context is important for the online bullshit that would follow.
Yeah, we should also mention, so she has lived in community. I fucking hate when people say live in community, but she knows a lot of Venezuelan expats.
I was going to mention she knows a lot of Venezuelans and like has been talking to them. Yeah.
The vast majority of people in Venezuela, the country with the most oil reserves in the world, live in abject poverty. Their country is full of resources and has incredibly fertile soil. Nevertheless, they have suffered from the kind of mass hunger we normally see only in Saharan Africa. In 2017, it was found that 75% of the population had lost around 20 pounds through malnutrition. Items like toilet paper and tampons have become black market commodities. People are encouraged to turn out for pro-government demonstrations because they'll get clap boxes, which are boxes containing vital food and other essential items, like these dolls of Maduro and his wife. He's in his super mustache persona, and then there's a picture of Saddam Hussein dressed like Superman.
She said the latest trend in reaction videos is Venezuelan exiles waking up their family members with the news that Maduro has been captured. And she noted, it's certainly a lot more fun to watch than the Stranger Things finale. I cannot vouch for that as I'm, I think, 4 seasons behind now. One more thing, she wrote, a close friend who has lived most of his life in Miami and Spain said he never saw this day coming. Quote, we look at Cuba and see how long they've been suffering. I left when I was 7 years old, and for years I've thought I would never be able to return. She also mentioned a friend who left as an adult told me that she's most looking forward to finally being able to visit her brother's grave. He was a lawyer who was shot dead in broad daylight by a colectivo. Those are these paramilitary groups who actually in recent days have apparently been like making sure no one expresses support for Trump or for the removal of Maduro.
Apparently the streets are very quiet right now.
Right. Although there's also, we'll get to it, there's also supposed pro-Maduro demonstrations. So shot dead in broad daylight by a colectivo and left by the side of the road in 2014. And she just noted this is not an unusual thing to have happened under Maduro.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's one thing worth sort of pausing on for a moment is that these government supporting paramilitary groups, Maduro allies, are still in power there. It's not like he was extradited to the U.S.
I mean, his government is still in power, and it's a question of like what kind of leverage we will exert over the VP who's now she said he's still the president. So it's not as though the regime has been toppled by any means. No one knows what's going to happen. And to be clear, Jessica the 80s baby said her friends are well aware of that. Now, the reason we bring this up is just because there is this thing online where it's like, if you mention that this place has been a hellhole for a while, like a horrible place to live, that's seen as endorsing what the U.S. does. So this has led to some of the online bullshit. Katie, should we get into it?
Yes, let's get into it. Or, I mean, we could keep pontificating about global politics.
Here's what I think about the U.S. policy towards Central and South America.
Hey, can I just bring up one thing?
Just do it.
Okay, this is just something it's been bothering me. So when Trump started bombing these boats, fishing vessels / possibly narco traffickers, the justification for this was fentanyl in the U.S. Jesse, do you know where fentanyl comes from?
Every one of those boats carries all the fentanyl. That's why he's destroying them.
China. Fentanyl is not made in Venezuela. The materials to make fentanyl go to Mexico. It is synthesized in Mexico, and then it comes up through Mexico or possibly, I don't know, maybe through boats or tunnels.
Are you, let me make sure I have this right. You're saying Donald Trump, like this policy of killing people on boats might not be good?
No, I don't think it's good, but as a pretext, it is just false. Like tens of thousands of people are not dying every year because of Venezuelan drugs. Colombia manufactures cocaine. There is a pipeline from Colombia to Venezuela to the U.S. That is absolutely true. And from what I've seen from legitimate reporters, it seems likely that, yes, Maduro was involved in the drug trade. But we're talking about cocaine. We're not talking about fentanyl. People do die from cocaine overdoses, but the vast majority of overdoses in the U.S., deadly overdoses, come from fentanyl. And when there are cocaine overdoses in which people die, typically there's also some sort of opioid like fentanyl involved. A straight overdose death from cocaine It does happen, but this is rare compared to the actual deadly drug that is killing Americans, with this fentanyl. What's more,
Go on.
fentanyl deaths have slowed down in the U.S. Keith Humphreys, friend of the pod, he just released a study looking at why this might be. Keith Humphreys is at Stanford. He's a really good guy on public policy. He was also really helpful with my book.
I'm looking forward to seeing him when I'm out there.
Nice. So Keith did this study, and what they found was that the reason that fentanyl deaths are down in the U.S. is because the Biden administration negotiated with China to crack down on shipments of the materials that make fentanyl to Mexico. At the same time, so this is the pretext, right? Drug deaths, American drug deaths. At the same time that Trump was killing possibly drug traffickers without any trial, or possibly fucking fishermen, at the same time, Trump pardoned the former Honduran president, whose name was Juan Orlando Hernandez. He was recently sentenced to 45 years in an American prison for drug trafficking. Trump fucking pardoned him, and he's now hiding out somewhere in the U.S. So I doubt there's anyone right now who is under the impression that this has anything to do with drugs, but just in case there is that one person, let me clear up that misinformation for you. Nothing to do with fentanyl. There's no fucking fentanyl in Venezuela. Americans are not dying because of fentanyl shipped on fucking boats from Venezuela. It's not happening. Okay, Jesse, you want to get back to it?
The only thing I'd add is like, it is interesting. I don't know. My sense is like smart people have never thought you could like arrest or bomb your way out of a problem like fentanyl addiction. But taking this really complicated, deadly public policy problem and then filtering it through Trump's monkey brain, and he has access to a military and is totally unconstrained. That's how you get bombing boats. Okay, that was our little detour. I know we're seen as the leaders of the resistance.
People get so mad when we whatever. Go ahead.
No, I mean, we could like. It's hard because every day there's like another thing that I'm just like, it's completely insane. It's insane. I don't think my writing or my podcasting, like, I don't think I'm at my best when I'm getting mad about Trump, but there were so many levels deep to insanity, but there are like a lot of other people you can go to get, I can't believe they literally just started bombing the boats. I'm sorry. I don't think there's a huge moral distinction. I really don't, between killing someone who's a fisherman without a trial and killing someone who you claim is a drug trafficker without a trial. It's crazy. Anyway, back to the online bullshit. So,
and yes, we know Obama droned people too. Also bad.
Yeah. Well, that's like there was a lot of outrage about that. There were big New York Times investigations about his drone. I mean, okay.
All right. Back to the internet.
Back to the show. Jessica pointed out this that's Jessica the 80s baby, pointed out this really interesting thing where like a lot of members of the diaspora will post their feelings about this, about Maduro getting got in this sense. And it's just happy that this horrible guy who really they felt was torturing them and their families is gone. So read this tweet that she said sums up the situation nicely. 27
years, we have nothing to lose that we haven't lost already. Yes, it's not going to be a movie-esque happy ending where everything gets fixed overnight with a montage and a catchy song, but I reiterate, it's been 27 years, got to start somewhere, and that somewhere right now is Maduro getting BTFO. That's BTFO. What's bit the fuck? Something the fuck out?
Blown the fuck out.
Oh, blown the fuck out. Back the fuck off.
But I thought it was
beat the fuck
out.
Bend the fuck over?
God, this is so pathetic.
That's when someone says, this is what Chris Rufo thinks is a violent threat. Again, analyze the situation from your personal perspective, insight, and overarching view of how things should be in the world / friend, enemy distinction, etc. And you're free to do so. But keep in mind that maybe, just maybe, there are 20-something million Venezuelans that just wanted to see this fat fuck eat shit. That's all.
So this comes from an account that goes by Caleb Prime. Apparently his real name is Caleb. He posted this, and that was what you just read was part of a long, thoughtful reflection on this topic. Immediately, he gets shit on by people saying things like, quote unquote, we, with like a little carrot pointing to Italian, being like, this guy's Italian, he's not Venezuelan. So this guy, Caleb, he actually responds by posting his 2 ID cards. One is Italian, the other is Venezuelan. So what's happening here is there is this big diaspora. There's people who had to flee the country, and they're chiming in about it. And people would be like, no, you're not a real Venezuelan. There's all these claims of sort of astroturfing.
Other people who aren't Venezuelans saying you're not a Venezuelan.
Right, yes. So Jessica said that a lot, and again, she I keep referring to her because she can actually Well, I guess in this day and age, we can all read Spanish tweets through the shitty auto translate, but she can actually read Spanish tweets.
You speak Spanish, don't you?
Un poquito de español. Jessica said that a lot of online lefties are going crazy with Twitter's "where is he posting from" feature. So anyone who identifies themselves as Venezuelan, they'll often immediately get attacked for not being in Venezuela.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So this, for people who aren't on Twitter, this is a new feature. I think this is actually one of the rare good things that Elon has done, just because it's kind of interesting. So you can now see where people are posting from. Or
they'll get accused of using a VPN and like trying to hide who they are. But part of the problem is Twitter is actually illegal in Venezuela. So if you're in Venezuela...
Oh, so I thought Venezuela was bad. You're making it sound kind of nice.
I want to move to Venezuela now. So anyone who's actually in the country would need to use a VPN anyway, which creates this weird situation of you're not there using a VPN when maybe, but it also could be you are there. That's why you have to use a VPN. Right. So Katie, let's read this telling exchange. I'll be the Spanish speaker so I can take advantage of my incredible accent, and you be this person who responded.
Okay.
Ni siquiera puedo llorar porque no siento que sea real. That means basically I can't even bring myself to cry because I can't believe this is actually happening. You be Chris.
Sorry for the loss of your leader. This is a very terrible day for Venezuela.
Matate.
What's that mean?
That's what Chris says. What does that mean?
I'm also asking.
It means kill yourself. Which we are not in favor of, but Venezuelan, a person who says there's Venezuelan, say, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe it's real, which is the kind of thing millions of Venezuelans around the world are saying. Right. Guys saying, I'm so sorry you lost your leader. So attempts.
I'm curious about Blue Sky.
I did not.
How's Blue Sky
did not. I can't even imagine.
Can't even open
I'm not even going there. Also, Blue Sky is so small. Why would we give it any attention? It's like a tiny fraction of the size of X. So attempts by Venezuelans to get people to hashtag believe Venezuelans are not working. Let me read another thing. This is from someone who says there's Venezuelan. If you are not Venezuelan or have never lived in Venezuela, maybe instead of posting as if you're an expert on Venezuela, you should listen to actual Venezuelans. Sincerely, a Venezuelan. Katie, read the two replies.
Sincerely, shut the fuck up. From an Iraqi that has seen this shit before.
Next one.
I appreciate this so much. We need more people from the Middle East to call out these U.S. bootlickers.
So that's the problem here is anyone who expresses happiness that Maduro, who was a horrible, evil dictator, that he is gone, they're a bootlicker. So people are really struggling with the idea of this large diaspora. There was a video shared of Venezuela.
What are the chances that that person is actually Iraqi?
I mean, again, nothing's real. And nothing matters, so we can't say anything for sure.
Or that person is Venezuelan, or any of this exists.
Well, right, nothing exists anymore. That's true, but people are very selective in terms of determining what they think is real versus fake. So we'll include a link to a video being shared of Venezuelans celebrating in Buenos Aires, and people are using the fact that it comes from BA as a gotcha to suggest they're not really Venezuelans, but.
Right.
There are over 200,000 Venezuelans living in Argentina, and there could be a lot more. Jessica Ladies Baby points out members of the diaspora are often undocumented. On the other hand, there have been these demonstrations against U.S. action in Venezuela, including members of the opposition. It's just hard to know what's what because Venezuela is a totalitarian state. Like people are paid to protest. Like paid protesters is a common line. They're paid to protest. They might be intimidated into it. With the colectivos, this is a well-established paramilitary thing. But there's this like tendency of otherwise smart people to turn off their brain. So Katie, hate to make you do this, but read this tweet from friend of the podcast, Glenn Greenwald.
Okay, so he's quote tweeting an account called Pamphlets. And that account says, breaking even members of the Venezuelan opposition are now demanding Maduro's release. And then Glenn says, now that the mega viral videos spread by Trump influencers were exposed as frauds and we see the real videos of Venezuelans in that country demanding their sovereignty, MAGA will return to, Venezuelans are dirty third world pygmies who don't share our values or culture. Who cares what they think?
So this idea that the mega viral videos of Venezuelans celebrating were spread by Trump influencers, I mean, first of all, yeah, I'm sure sometimes they were.
There were some, Glenn pointed out some that were, it wasn't like AI footage, but it was like people celebrating from a different place in a different country because like their soccer team won.
I'm positive there was that usual bullshit. I'm also positive like it should surprise nobody that there was widespread celebration of this guy who, like you it's not it would be shocking if people weren't celebrating his arrest because he lost the election. He held on to power. There's millions of members of the diaspora who hate him. So I think what Glenn's doing here is like, unfortunately, an example of people being really selective in what they believe. So he's saying this like clip of a protest in a totalitarian country, that's real, but all the other stuff is somehow fake or astroturfed. Also,
I'm curious about Glenn's, I mean, is his default just like anything that's like American imperialism, which, you know, Trump handing over the gas supply to the American petroleum companies, I would say that fits the definition.
Well, with Trump, you always need to take it with, like, he hasn't actually done that. He has openly said we're going to do that, which is the definition.
Which I should say, I do sort of appreciate that he has dropped the pretext that this had anything to do with drugs. We're back in the 90s. It's just about petroleum. It's just about fossil fuels. Although George Bush, he was never that honest. He never said this is about oil.
Well, I don't think that was about
Okay.
I actually don't. I don't. I mean, that's a whole other thing.
Next week.
Anyway,
next week we'll decide if the Iraq War was about oil.
Yeah. The Iraq War. Yeah. I think what Glenn's doing is like a natural human thing, which is, yes, he's incredibly opposed to U.S. imperialism, especially in that part of the world. Like he's a Brazilian. Is he actually Brazilian now by citizenship?
He has citizenship, I believe.
Yeah, he's a Brazilian lefty. So,
and his husband was a congressman in Brazil.
So it's just like, yes, you could be against this particular act, but then extend that to, I can't imagine how other people might be celebrating this. I just think is like sort of a failure of moral imagination, frankly. There's also this tweet from the this person hadn't come up for a while. Kim.com political influencer, sort of like hacker type, sort of older school internet, but read this tweet from Kim.com.
Warning, 90% of Trump support regarding Venezuela on social media is not organic. It's bot generated. Same CIA playbook as Ukraine. Don't be fooled. The vast majority is against what Trump did in Venezuela. The fact that they need bots to fake support shows how weak Trump is. Again,
it's delusional, I think. There was also this really bad tweet from Martina Velarde. She's a congresswoman from Podemos, Spain's far-left party. They've always been very pro-immigration and welcoming of refugees fleeing various regimes, including Venezuela. So she, quote, retweeted an image of Venezuelans celebrating in Madrid. Katie, read what she said in her, quote, retweet in response to these Venezuelans celebrating in your best Spanish accent.
Parasitos. That was pretty good, huh?
Parasitos.
I think I know what that means.
Parasitos. Yeah. She's calling them parasites. So her tweet disappeared. Angry Venezuelans assumed she deleted it, but no, she doubled down. She said, I didn't delete it. People reported it. You're morons.
Nice to see that it's not just American politicians who call people morons on Twitter.
No. Yeah. And then she said, anyone who celebrates the bombing of their country and the killing of their countrymen is a parasite. Part of what makes that complicated is, it's bad when people die, but a few dozen people died, and they were Cubans because the Maduro regime relies on a lot of sort of imported Cubans for things like security. That's from, according to Jessica Ladies Baby, that's why it was Cubans who were killed. Again, killing's bad, but anyway. In Spain and in the U.S., there's been videos of clashes between actual Venezuelans and non-Venezuelan activists against U.S. action. It's this weird, we talked about intersectional twister before. And the way people handle the cognitive dissonance of like, I am for Venezuela, I want to protect Venezuelans, all the Venezuelans disagree with me about this, is they use terms like facha pobre, that's a portmanteau of fascist and poor. So you're a poor fascist, which is the worst kind of fascist to be. They also use gusano. This was a word when I went to Cuba and was reading up a little bit. It's like, gusano means worm. So if you leave Cuba for a better life, the idea is you're a worm. You're sort of a traitor to the revolution. So it's been used to refer to counter-revolutionaries, but more and more it's just used for like anyone who leaves is inherently morally suspect. So the myth of the gusano in this case, in the Venezuelan case, is that they are white people and they descended from slave owners. And they hate the fact that they lost power, but the happy brown communists stayed behind living in peace and harmony in the Maduro regime. Yeah. If you want to read this tweet from Jimmy Pooptron, this explains it.
This is in quotes. You think you know better than Venezuelans? Yes, I do. Guaisanos living abroad are brain-dead fascists who want to sell their country out for cheap consumer experiences for the donors of a senile pedophile, all because their grandparents' plantations were forcefully expropriated.
So cheap consumer experiences includes things like
food,
eggs, and milk. This is like there's this really remarkable racecraft going on too, because Venezuela's like a very diverse, very mixed place. And to some of the folks who, the way they handle the cognitive dissonance of all these Venezuelans celebrating is they say, well, those are the white ones. The non-white ones are down with the cause.
Although, hey, the white one in Seattle, that one was trying to get Maduro out.
So, right, as usual, a lot of online debates about race are entirely white people fighting with white people. But watch just the start of this video and let's embed this, because I think this really sums it up. The guy really appears to be a major league asshole who goes by Don Salmon.
Notice the Venezuelans celebrating the kidnapping of Maduro are white and outside of Venezuela. Notice how the Venezuelans who are supporting Maduro and the Bolivarian Revolution are black, brown, indigenous, and inside of Venezuela. And that's no coincidence. Many of the asylum seekers and immigrants that come to America from Latin America are right-wing reactionaries. And they're not good actors. And oftentimes, we don't ever ask the question of what these immigrants were doing before they arrived in America in their home countries. This is especially the case when we're talking about Colombia, Venezuela, Nicaragua, and Cuba.
Okay, I think that it's a really good idea to base what you know on a country on videos that you're seeing go viral on TikTok.
Exactly. It's these wildly differing standards for evidence depending on like the last video you saw and how it made you feel. If it made you feel bad, it's AI or it's the CIA. But yeah, this is not the first time I've come across this. This is this real point among radical chic, mostly, I'm overgeneralizing a little, but mostly more privileged types. They need some way to grapple cognitively with the fact that these regimes they valorize, Cuba and Venezuela, people are fleeing by the millions from these countries because they're really rough places to live. And the way they do that is the Guaisano line. These must be bad people. They were slave owners. They were this, they were that. So it's amazing what this sort of radicalism does to people and how it makes them, not inhumane, I guess I'd say.
All right, well, let's take this seriously for a second. I mean, is there anything to the idea that the diaspora is whiter than the people who remained in Venezuela?
Yeah, Jessica said like there's some element of truth to like some of the migration patterns, but a lot of that just comes down to who has what options. So oil was discovered in Venezuela in 1935. That was a time, and again, I'm educating you here, there was actually some bad stuff going on in Europe in 1935. You can Google that when you have time. So for the better part of actually 30 years, there were waves of migration, especially from dictatorships like Spain, Italy, and Portugal. So a lot of, quote unquote, white Europeans fled from fascists to Venezuela at the time. And now their children and grandchildren, they can often qualify for Spanish, Italian, or Portuguese passports. So, and if you come from a country like Venezuela, an EU passport, it's a golden ticket. It can literally be life-saving. So if you were Venezuelan with an EU passport, they were among the first to leave, and they happened to be from those backgrounds. But it's really, part of what's interesting about this is the black and brown people in Venezuela, by all accounts, are fucked and would leave if they could.
Right.
So this is actually an example of a certain weird type of white privilege in that basically everyone wants to leave. The people who were able to leave, it was because of their ethnic ancestry.
Right. So this is one case where it's not, where whiteness isn't just a proxy for wealth. It's literally because they have European ancestry.
Yeah. Yes. And to make this, this idea that the black and brown people support the regime and the white people don't, it's sort of ridiculous.
Right.
One last very peculiar bit of online bullshit involving Venezuela. So this concerns the president of Colombia, Gustavo Petro. He's a leftist, not a blue-haired pronouns and biotype. He was actually an armed guerrilla in his youth, like you were, I believe. So Colombia is the front line of the Venezuelan refugee crisis. 3 million Venezuelans have fled to Colombia. Petro has actually been speaking out against Trump's actions recently. When the first reports came out of potential military action of the U.S. bombing Caracas, Petro was live tweeting it all with like the information he could gather. And early news articles used him as a major source. And what's interesting is that he shared a tweet in the early hours of Saturday morning, a list of allegedly confirmed attacks in Caracas, but the list was in the form of a screenshot. So, Katie, read the top of this screenshot.
So the name of the WhatsApp group is Valorant Team. What's Valorant?
you know what Valorant is, right?
No.
It's a video game. It's an extremely popular video game.
So is that just the name of his group chat, like me calling my family group chat squad, or is this an actual video gaming group chat?
It's an actual video gaming group chat, apparently. He was getting his intelligence from a gamer group chat. And to make matters worse, Petro's screenshot included the totally uncensored number of one of the group chat members. Just this
Let's call it
random gamer living in Spain. So just click this screen capture video and just describe it.
Oh, it's screenshots of the guy of whoever's number that was getting, it looks like dozens, thousands of text messages on WhatsApp. Yeah.
Just ping, ping, ping. Yeah. This is like, as far as having your number posted publicly, it sounds like this was fairly benign. So the messages included, imagine being doxxed by the president of Colombia. Good evening. How's the situation in Venezuela going? Mm-hmm. And change your number, bro.
Yeah.
There were dozens of. Oh, sorry.
Okay, so I mean, this means that American leaders are also not the only fucking morons who use group chats to communicate.
There were apparently dozens of people asked to be added to the group chat.
Oh, I'm sure.
Many missed calls, including several from an account whose profile picture was Jeffrey Epstein. So yeah, the owner of the docs phone number tweeted, his account's down now, but he said, "Excuse me, Mr. President, could you at least not dox my phone number? People have been calling me all morning, and I'm blocking numbers nonstop thanks to your screenshots." A commenter asked this guy, "Did you know that this group chat included the president of Colombia?" And his response was, "Yes, we play with him, but lately he prefers to play with narcos." Apparently, he's also very bad at Valorant, although that remains unconfirmed.
I'm generally against making lists, but we need a list of all the gamer presidents.
We do.
Did you see what Tucker Carlson said about the kidnapping of Maduro?
I did not. What was it?
Oh, this was good.
We can safely discount democracy as a reason for affecting regime change in Venezuela. We're not going to go kill Nicolás Maduro because we don't like the way he's treating his people. It's possible we're mad that he doesn't allow gay marriage. That is a distinct possibility, but no one will say that out loud. Not defending the regime, just saying one of the most conservative countries in North or South or Central America. Only El Salvador really comes close, which is much smaller, of course. And by the way, the U.S.-backed opposition leader who would take Maduro's place if he were taken out is, of course, pretty eager to get gay marriage in Venezuela. So to those of you who thought this whole project was globo homo, not crazy, actually.
Yeah, that was the last thing I was going to say. This all has to do with gay marriage. So Tucker is on point as always.
Are you looking forward to having a 51st date?
Now that he's on U.S. soil, I consider him my president.
Try to get an interview.
I have a podcast. Yeah. Can I interview Maduro? That's all I got, Katie.
All right. Thank you for this, Jesse.
This has been Blocked and Reported. As always, we are produced with help from Jessica the 80s Baby, especially this week. Thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye.